a mother, a wife, who had forgotten who she was for over 20 years. Until one snowy night, an old cabin in the woods, and a phone call at 2:08 a.m., everything changed. This isn't just a love story. It's a story of awakening. And trust me, you won't want to miss a second of it. With a pen in hand, I crafted a letter to my husband, pouring my thoughts onto the page. Yet, in a moment of clarity, I tore it into fragments not from a place of anger, but from the realization that I no longer required his acknowledgement to affirm my existence. At 40, I found myself reflecting on a time when I felt like a mere whisper in a home where my husband had turned his gaze away and my child was preparing to spread their wings and fly away. But then Ezrin, my son, led me to a cabin nestled in the snowy woods, and there, amidst the bone-chilling cold, I rediscovered the essence of being alive through laughter, a tumble into the snow, and a photograph that made me realize, so I'm still me. Have you ever spent so much time living for others that you lost sight of your own identity? Share your tale with me, for perhaps my path to enlightenment began in a manner similar to yours. It was a moment I never anticipated, entering a rustic wooden cabin nestled within a blanket of snow-draped pine trees, and yet here I was, accompanied by my son. Life has a way of surprising us, revealing that the uncharted paths often lead to the most significant transformations. Once upon a time, Ezrin celebrated his 21st birthday just last month. He stood nearly a head above me, silent, yet his eyes radiated a soft warmth, always watching with a keen awareness. That morning, he turned to me and asked, "Mom, would you like to go somewhere for a few days?" Caused me to reflect. It seems my son caught a glimpse of the void in my gaze, the dinners marked by his father Thane's prolonged absence, and the way I still scrubbed the kitchen each night, bound by a habit that feels devoid of purpose. Once upon a time, there was a quaint little cabin nestled by a shimmering lake, the very place where I embarked on an unforgettable camping adventure with my classmates. "It's quiet, truly beautiful," Ezrin remarked, his hands gently guiding the wheel. And so our adventure unfolded. With no set plans or travel itinerary in hand, a mother and her son embark on a journey up the mountain, the road ahead filled with endless possibilities. As the car glided onto the snow-blanketed road, a warmth spread through my heart. Surrounding us stood the pine trees, their presence quiet and cloaked in white. The wind softly murmured through the skeletal branches, revealing the cabin ahead, small and weathered, yet radiating a warmth that embraced the essence of nostalgia. With a swift motion, Ezrin flung the door wide open. He smiled, a glimmer of nostalgia dancing in his eyes, just as he always had. In the heart of the room stood an old fireplace, its bricks whispering tales of warmth and comfort. Surrounding it were a couple of wool-covered armchairs, inviting weary souls to sink into their embrace. At the center, a faded oak dining table bore the marks of countless gatherings, each scratch and stain a testament to stories shared and memories made. I lingered in silence for what felt like an eternity. For the past 15 years, my life unfolded amidst the hum of gas stoves, the whir of washing machines, and the constant cadence of Thane's business phone calls. It felt like ages since I had a little corner of the world that was entirely my own. The evening arrived in a swift embrace. Once more, the snowflakes danced down from the heavens. As Ezrin kindled the fire, I peeled off my wool scarf and settled onto the soft floor rug, captivated by the mesmerizing dance of the flames. It was as if the clock turned back, transporting us to a time that was raw and uncomplicated. "Do you feel a rumble in your belly?" I inquired. Ezra nodded with a smile. "Even instant noodles will do, as long as you share them with me. Just a single sentence, and it brought me to the brink of tears. It slipped my mind that the simple act of sharing a meal with someone, taking our time, and not being overshadowed by others, was truly a treasure. In the cozy cabin Ezrin and I settled in, savoring our meal together with warmth and camaraderie. The hush enveloped us, a comforting embrace that outshone any birthday celebration I had ever orchestrated. On that particular night, I found myself resting on the modest wooden bed, cocooned in a warm down blanket, gazing up at the ceiling of the cabin. The wind danced playfully against the tin roof, while the firewood crackled softly in the distance, and the gentle rhythm of Ezrin's breathing filled the air. My only son, the one who rescued me from a chill I believed was insurmountable. I murmured softly, perhaps this journey held more than merely a retreat from the chill. Perhaps this marks the beginning of my journey back to life. As dawn broke, a delicate aroma of coffee wafted gently through the narrow gap of the wooden door, beckoning me to rise and embrace the day. The morning light danced through the delicate linen curtain, wrapping the room in a soft embrace, like a tender second blanket laid across the space. As I emerged from the warmth of my bed, I pulled on a cozy wool sweater. It was then that I caught sight of Ezrin, standing by the kitchen window, a steaming cup of coffee cradled in his hands, his gaze lost in the snowy landscape beyond. "You're up early," I murmured gently, cautious not to break the serene stillness that enveloped us. With a gentle turn, Ezrin's lips curled into a warm smile. "This place inspires a deep desire to cherish each fleeting moment. And let me tell you, my coffee is something special. Would you like to give it a go?" As I settled into the gentle embrace of the rocking chair by the warm glow of the fireplace, a sense of calm enveloped me. As Ezrin extended his hand, the cup of coffee nestled within it radiated a soothing warmth, wrapping around me like a gentle embrace. Silence enveloped us, words unspoken lingering in the air. Outside the porch, the snow crunched softly underfoot, while the firewood in the stove crackled gently, creating a warm ambience. In the midst of it all, a mother focused on the rhythm of her own breath, seeking to rediscover the art of stillness. We dedicated the entire morning to tidying up the cabin, not out of necessity, but to share a meaningful experience together. As Ezrin diligently wiped the windows, I busied myself folding blankets and tucking away some old treasures into the wooden cabinet. Each little task seemed to weave together the frayed strands of a bond that had faded over time between mother and son. It was hard to recall the last moment when the two of us had simply existed together, free from the distractions of phones, emails, or trivial disputes. Yet here, in this space, everything felt uncomplicated and buoyant. As the clock struck noon, the snow continued its gentle descent, yet the sky had begun to unveil a brighter hue. With a firm grip, Ezrin led me away from the cabin. "Have you ever ventured out on a snowy hike, Mom?" With a chuckle and a slight shake of my head, I felt a touch of shyness as I gazed at the hefty snowshoes he offered me. "No, I prefer to wander through the vibrant stalls of the markets." Today, my friend, we find ourselves wandering through the enchanting woods together. As we ventured into the soft snow, our feet embraced the gentle surrender of the pristine white surface beneath us. In the heart of the pine forest, silence enveloped us, broken only by the gentle rhythm of our breaths and the soft whisper of branches swaying in the breeze. To my surprise, I found a profound sense of tranquility in the act of merely walking. As soon as I stepped through the door, Ezrin's hand found its way to my shoulder. Once upon a time, there were unforgettable camping trips shared with friends in this very place. His voice transformed, shedding its usual dryness and curtness, now flowing with warmth and vibrant enthusiasm. It dawned on me that my son had matured, not merely in height, but in the depth of his listening, in the way he gazed at me, free of judgment and unhurried. As we found ourselves in a serene clearing, Ezrin reminisced, "You know, when I was a child, whenever you had a headache or felt down, you'd always retreat to the backyard." You were unaware that I was paying attention, weren't you?" I stood still, caught in the moment. I believed you were too young to grasp it all. Ezran pondered deeply, his head shaking in contemplation. I witnessed your struggles, and I often hoped you had a companion by your side, someone to share the weight with, so you wouldn't have to bear it all alone. I averted my gaze, my eyes fluttering as I fought to hold back the tears that threatened to spill. In that moment, I beheld Ezran not merely as my son, but as a young man brimming with understanding and maturity. A part of me felt a profound sense of support. As I settled onto the porch steps of the cabin, the chill in the air painted my cheeks a rosy pink. With a warm smile, Ezran offered me a steaming cup of ginger tea, its fragrant aroma wafting through the air. What adventure shall we embark on tomorrow, dear Mom? I shook my head, my gaze fixed on the snow as it danced down from the heavens, blanketing the world in a hushed embrace. But what if we linger here just a little longer, savoring each moment as it unfolds? I yearn to extend this sensation, this emotion that, for countless years as a wife and a mother, had slipped from my grasp. To embrace my true self, free from the chains of perfection. On that fateful night, the house lay shrouded in an extraordinary silence, as if the world outside had paused to listen. Thane had yet to return home. As I lingered in the kitchen, I carefully dried the final plate from the remnants of the birthday celebration, then placed the towel back on its hook, a small ritual marking the end of the festivities. Once upon a time, in a house filled with whispers and echoes, Ezran found himself in the realm of the upstairs. Soft music floated from his room, instrumental melodies weaving through the air, steady and gentle, like a whisper that held no clear meaning. It crossed my mind whether he was reflecting on the events that unfolded at the beach. It lingered in my mind, refusing to let go. As I stepped into the living room, I settled onto the sofa, wrapping a soft, light blanket around my legs for warmth and comfort. Every object in this house whispered tales of the past, from the reading lamp with its weary hinge to the faded wedding photo that hung just a bit askew on the wall, each piece a chapter in the story of a life once lived. Everything seemed woven into the fabric of my life, yet now I found myself questioning whether I was truly living it or merely playing a part in a story crafted by another. With a heavy heart, I let out a sigh. Out of the blue, I caught the sound of soft footsteps ascending the stairs, and there he was, Ezran, standing in the doorway, a glass of water in hand. "Are you feeling wide awake, my friend?" I was on the verge of doing so. "And what about you?" "Sleep eludes me as well." He strolled over and settled next to me, the glass still cradled in his hand. Moments lingered in quietude, and so I began to weave my words. "Did today seem a bit unusual to you?" Ezran cast a glance my way and offered a subtle nod. "You appeared to be someone else entirely." A touch removed. A subtle smile graced my lips. "Perhaps it's a matter of the years I've seen. As you journey through life, there comes a moment when reflections on what has slipped away begin to take center stage in your mind." "You haven't lost anything," Ezran said, and there was a certain quality in his voice that compelled me to turn and meet his gaze. "You are the one weaving the threads of it all into a cohesive tapestry. In your absence, I believe this family would have crumbled long ago." My heart constricted. Ezran's words lingered in the air, a soft echo that carried both tenderness and a sting of sorrow. Had I truly managed to hold it all in place? Or was I merely feigning ignorance to the fractures that lay before me? "Thane," I find myself pausing. Your father, a figure of intrigue and wisdom, isn't he? Do you sense that he's drifting further from you?" Ezran fell into a thoughtful silence, then finally spoke. "I believe he's already departed." Once upon a time, I shut my eyes tight. It wasn't shock that gripped me, but rather the weight of words that had remained unvoiced until now, and in that moment, my own son had brought them to light. "Yet you remain," Ezran pressed on, "and thus I find myself in the same boat. We remain together, bound by the threads of our shared journey." I glanced at my son, a wave of gratitude washing over me for his heartfelt words. Ezran's presence wrapped around you like a warm blanket, offering solace and encouragement. In that fleeting instant, he transformed before my eyes, no longer the small child I once cradled, but a man standing tall and strong. A man whose heart was vast enough to perceive the sorrow that even my husband had grown blind to. I kept my silence thereafter. We lingered in quietude, the rhythmic ticking of the clock enveloping us, as if time had decided to grant me a moment of stillness. To ponder, to inhale the essence of life, and to grasp that even if Thane had lost sight of my identity, I was still recognized by my own son. I could feel the weight of time as I sat there, long after Ezran had retreated to his room. Perhaps it was just a few minutes or maybe an hour, but when I finally rose to my feet, the familiar fog and fatigue vanished, as if a weighty curtain had been drawn back from my thoughts. As I stepped into the bathroom, I flicked the switch, and the light burst forth, illuminating my reflection in the mirror. The reflection before me was a stranger, no longer the vibrant bride captured in that cherished wedding photograph. I had been aware of that for quite some time, yet this evening, after so many years, I finally caught a glimpse of my true self. Not just yet. She is not Thane's wife, not the mother of Ezran. It's just her, a woman gradually fading into the stillness of days where no one inquired about her well-being, in the monotony of meals shared without words, in the silent sacrifices so persistent that even she had lost sight of their existence. With both hands pressed firmly against the sink, I let out a sharp breath, releasing the tension that had built up inside me. A gentle shiver danced along my spine. It was not pain. It was a moment of pure clarity. In the quiet moments of reflection, I found myself transported back to the beginnings of my journey as a wife and a mother. There was a time when my heart was filled with dreams, visions of a quaint little bakery, the pages of a book waiting to be written, and the thrill of mastering a new language. Yet, piece by piece, I wove it all into the fabric of family dinners, into Ezran's commendable conduct, into the rhythm of Thane's work routine. It had existed for all, yet overlooked this singular truth. When a woman ceases to live for her own desires, she fades away, even if she remains visible in every family snapshot. A single tear traced its way down my cheek. Yet, on this occasion, it was not a tear born from self-pity. It was a tear that signaled a new beginning. I yearned to step out of the shadows and claim my place within these walls. I didn't wish to be the woman for whom Thane felt only gratitude for her patience. It was a thought that lingered, the image of Ezran gazing at me, his eyes filled with a quiet sadness as I slipped away into the stillness. In my heart, I yearned to rediscover the melody of my own voice. I sought a day brimming with melodies, wonder, and that inexplicable joy that brings a smile without a single reason. Uncertainty loomed over me, yet a flicker of hope ignited within. One thing was certain. Tomorrow held the promise of change. Gazed into the mirror once more, reflecting on the image before me. The shadows beneath my eyes lingered, yet a spark of something emerged, a hint of pride, perhaps. I found no need to be younger, more beautiful, or to seek the approval of others. I simply had to embrace the essence of my true feelings. That night, I settled down and gently closed my eyes, not burdened by anxiety or regret, but embraced by a vibrant, soothing calm, as if I had just weathered a tempest and was now basking in the tender glow of a new dawn. As I began to drift into the realm of dreams, the phone rang, its sound piercing and chilling, yanking me back to reality from a story yet to be told. As my eyes drifted toward the clock, time seemed to pause for a moment. 2.08. A moment of revelation. I sprang to attention, my heart racing wildly. Ezran, is it? A name that carries a tale of its own. The name of my son danced into my thoughts first, bright and vivid. With a mother's intuition, I reached for the phone, my voice quivering with emotion. "Greetings." On the other end resonated a deep, urgent male voice, filled with a sense of importance. "Are you the one who shares a life with Thane?" I stood still, caught in a moment of sheer disbelief. Indeed, what tale unfolds before us? Greetings from the Central Hospital, where stories of care and healing unfold. One fateful evening, as the clock ticked away, your husband, Thane, suddenly fell to the ground while immersed in his work. At this moment, he finds himself under the care of the dedicated team in the cardiology emergency unit. "Could you make your way here at once?" There I was, caught in a moment of disbelief, and all I could muster was, "I'm on my way." As the night enveloped me, I found myself behind the wheel, my fingers clutching the steering wheel with a sense of urgency. The streets lay silent, amber streetlights casting their glow like threads of nostalgia woven through my thoughts. Questions danced in a whirlwind. Is Thane doing all right? Were there any hints along the way? Why was it that I failed to see? Yet what truly astonished me was the sensation that swelled within my chest. Fear of losing Thane never crossed my mind. A sense of unease lingered within me, for there were words left unspoken, a tale that remained incomplete, though I believed I had released it from my grasp. As I stepped into the hospital, my heart raced, and I hurried into the waiting area, my gaze locked on the silent doors of the emergency room. Moments later, a young doctor emerged, peeling away his mask to reveal his face. He has emerged from the shadows of peril. Fortuitously, you managed to bring him here just in the nick of time. I offered a grateful nod, yet my heart continued to race, refusing to calm. As I stepped inside, there lay Thane, a shadow of his former self, pale and weary. The face I had once known to be cold and distant now revealed an unexpected vulnerability. For what felt like an eternity, I remained motionless, contemplating the moment, before finally taking a seat beside him. As Thane slowly opened his eyes, he turned his gaze towards me. It was a moment devoid of theatrics, simply a weary and sincere look that spoke volumes. With a soft breath, he murmured, "I'm sorry for all that exists." Words eluded me in that moment. In that moment, all the anger, the emptiness, the disappointment I had clung to began to dissolve into the air. Thane, the husband I believed had vanished into the depths of his work, stood before me in his most vulnerable state. I, the woman who had just started to rediscover my own identity, found myself confronted with a profound question. If he truly transforms, what path will I choose? That night, as I sat by the hospital bed, sleep eluded me, yet the urge to flee had faded away. Uncertainty loomed over the situation, swirling around Thane, myself, and Ezrin, yet amidst the chaos, one truth stood clear in my mind. Every journey of awakening is marked by interruptions, for it is in those fleeting moments that we gain clarity on our true destination. A week after Thane stepped out of the hospital, an unusual stillness enveloped the house. Gone are the days of doors being slammed in haste, or the ringing of phones at the witching hour. Once upon a time, Thane embarked on a new journey, beginning his adventure of working from home. The doctor advised that he should take a full 3 weeks of complete rest. With a heavy heart, he accepted it. In that moment, I found myself at a loss, pondering the vast expanse that had suddenly emerged between us. As the sun began to rise, I rose with it, brewing a fresh pot of coffee, straightening the kitchen, and crafting a delightful breakfast for Ezrin. But now there was Thane, occupying the very spot that once held only an empty chair. We shared courteous looks, exchanged a couple of inquiries about well-being, and then the kitchen was once more enveloped in silence. That afternoon, as Ezrin ventured out to join his friends, I found myself stepping into Thane's makeshift office. He gazed out the window, as if the world beyond held the key to the unspoken burdens weighing on his heart. It was I who began the conversation. "Hold on," There's something we must discuss. He turned around, his eyes weary yet unwavering as they met mine. I settled into the chair opposite him. For what felt like an eternity, silence enveloped us, wrapping around our words like a thick fog. Then I inquired, "Have you ever truly understood the depth of my loneliness?" "Ah, I see." Lenya cast her gaze in my direction. This moment stretched on, and then a nod followed. Indeed, I found myself at a loss for how to proceed with it. Work was the sole realm where I still found a flicker of my former prowess. I let out a humorless chuckle. What of my tale? What tale unfolds with Ezrin? What of all those dinners I spent in solitude, waiting for company? Silence lingered in the air as he chose not to reply. He gazed at his hands, searching for the answers that seemed to elude him. "I understand your anger," Thane said, his voice measured and calm. Yet a fear gripped me, for I knew that if I paused, I would have to confront the reality that I am no longer the man you once selected. A weight settled upon my chest. Throughout all the years we shared, Thane had always maintained a flawless facade, never revealing a single crack in his armor. Up to this moment. I inhaled deeply, then spoke. I don't require someone flawless. I seek a companion who is genuinely here with me. Thane lifted his gaze. After a long stretch of time, a glimmer of emotion danced in his eyes, hinting at something deeper beneath the surface. "There was a moment when I believed you were gone, Thane. But let me share something with you." The most chilling realization was that I had already lost my way long before that moment arrived. And so the conversation drifted away, leaving no resolution in its wake. Yet it was a true and sincere start. There were no sweeping declarations, no vows to uphold. We didn't come together in tears, nor did we attempt to reshape the narrative of our past romance. For the first time in ages, we truly saw one another, not as characters in a play, not bound by duty, but with genuine understanding in our eyes. That evening, as I lingered by the kitchen window, Ezrin returned home. I cast my gaze upon my son. He remains the boy I once knew, yet with every tick of the clock, he blossoms and evolves. And I realized perhaps this journey of healing extended beyond just Thane and me. It was for a whole family, one that had once believed it was irreparably shattered. Ezrin remained silent as he observed Thane and me at the dinner table that evening. His gaze roamed across us, a blend of astonishment and wariness, as though he were peering into a once familiar space where every piece of furniture had been shifted around. The Hermine gracefully departs from the floor. With a gentle gesture, I offered him a steaming bowl of soup. My hand quivered ever so slightly. With a gentle hand, Thane ladled rice into his bowl, each grain a small story waiting to be savored. Silence enveloped the room, yet it carried a sense of transformation, a lightness that danced in the air like the first notes of a melody, hinting at the story about to unfold. Once the dinner dishes were put away, Ezrin made his way upstairs. With a heavy sigh, I pondered that he likely required some space to gather his thoughts. Yet, just a mere 15 minutes later, a gentle knock echoed at my bedroom door. "Mother, do you find yourself occupied at the moment?" As I pivoted, the world shifted around me. Ezrin lingered at the doorway, poised on the brink of something new. No phone, no earbuds, just my son, now standing tall, a silent depth in his gaze that speaks volumes. I gently shook my head, a silent gesture filled with meaning. "Step inside, my dear. Take a seat in a chair," pausing for a brief moment of silence. Then he spoke, his voice a gentle whisper as though he feared breaking something delicate. "So, you and your father have found your way back to each other, haven't you?" The question left me momentarily speechless. I felt the urge to respond immediately, yet I found myself hesitating. In his gaze, there was no trace of wonder. I witnessed a flicker of worry, a gentle yearning for understanding, intertwined with a trepidation of potential pain. I replied with sincerity, uncertain of the answer. It seems we're beginning to converse once more, just like genuine individuals do. With a thoughtful nod, Ezran's gaze drifted downward, his fingers idly pulling at a stray thread on the sleeve of his hoodie. In a home filled with chatter, words flowed freely, yet the essence of truth often remained unspoken. My throat constricted, and at times it seemed as though I was caught in the midst of two unfamiliar faces, striving to hold everything together as it threatened to unravel. I strolled over and took a seat beside him. With a tender touch, I laid my hand softly over his. "Oh, Ezran, there's no need for that. It is a heavy weight that no child should ever have to bear." Ezran gazed upward, his eyes rimmed with red. "But if not me, then who shall take up the mantle?" My heart broke into fragments. I wrapped my arms around him, holding him close in a warm embrace, the first genuine one we've shared in what felt like ages. In that warm embrace, a revelation dawned upon me, something I had never pondered until that very moment. Only Thane and I remained, both weary from the weight of silence that enveloped us. Ezran found himself ensnared in the echoes of all the voids we had abandoned. Once he departed from the room, I found myself sitting in solitude, a sense of restlessness washing over me. Perhaps the path to healing starts not with the union itself. It all starts with the bravery to confront the scars we've etched upon the hearts of those we cherish the most. A week after that fateful conversation with Ezran, the first snow of the season began to drift softly down, blanketing the backyard in a serene white hush. I lingered by the window, observing the snowflakes as they gracefully descended, reminiscent of time itself, of memories that have faded into the distance. Silence envelopes the scene, a gentle aura that speaks volumes without uttering a word. With a warm smile, Thane approached, cradling two steaming mugs of hot cocoa, one destined for him, the other for me. Silence enveloped us, yet our gazes intertwined, no longer shying away from one another. A shift had occurred, not entirely forgiveness, but a dawning awareness. "I'm trying," Thane said, his voice low and sincere. "Not to revisit the past, but to discover how to become the partner you truly deserve." I grasped the mug he offered, our hands lightly grazing against one another. The warmth didn't render me weak. Rather, it illuminated my path. There was no need for a hasty reply. We both understood the beauty of taking our time. In the distance, Ezran was diligently shoveling snow from the walkway, wrapped snugly in a thick coat with a hood drawn tightly over his ears. Yet I witnessed the joy in his smile as a delicate snowflake danced down to rest upon his nose, prompting him to tilt his head skyward, embracing it as if it were a playful jest from the universe. I ventured outside and called out, "Be cautious out there or you might catch a chill." Ezran glanced over his shoulder and reassured, "It's all right, Mom. The snow's not too thick, and it's nice and warm beneath it." For a brief moment I lingered, pondering the weight of his words. Underneath the delicate layer of snow, the earth holds a gentle warmth. Perhaps that captures the very spirit of this family. Even after the chill has settled in, and beneath the weight of unspoken words, there lies a rich earth waiting to be discovered. A sanctuary where one can plant their roots and embark on a new journey. As the sun dipped below the horizon, the three of us gathered around the dinner table, sharing the warmth of the moment. No elaborate schemes, no extravagant festivities, just pasta and toasted bread, a tapestry of shared tales and gentle laughter weaving through the air. Yet a profound sense of tranquility enveloped me, a feeling I hadn't experienced in quite some time. The future remains a mystery, shrouded in uncertainty. Perhaps Thane and I will never return to the way we used to be. Perhaps Ezran will embark on his journey to school, setting forth to carve out his own path in the world. Yet I am certain of this. We summoned the bravery to meet each other's gaze, to confront the truth, and we made the choice to stand firm, refusing to turn away. And for me, that signifies the dawn of a new chapter. At times, the most chilling experience isn't rooted in our actions, but rather in the unsettling moment when we gaze into the mirror and fail to recognize the reflection staring back at us. The mother in this tale didn't merely withstand suffering. She found herself at the very bottom of solitude's abyss. And from that moment, she embarked on a journey to rediscover the true essence of loving herself, embracing it with sincerity and without conditions. Life is a winding journey filled with unforeseen twists where we sometimes find ourselves in the depths of despair, as if all has been taken from us. Yet, when we summon the courage to embrace our feelings, confront our missteps, and make the right choices, we unveil the essence of genuine growth. For true growth is not found in the absence of failure, but in the wisdom gained from rising once more, with a heart that continues to hold on to hope. May this tale serve as a gentle reminder that sometimes the journey of awakening starts with a simple crack. The path of emotional healing may be walked alone, yet it holds profound significance. Love, a fragile thing that, though it may break, holds the promise of renewal, should we dare to embrace it once more.